Mom and Dad claimed, "You never contribute anything to this family." My sister delivered the line like a perfect joke, and everyone burst into laughter. Wine glasses chimed loudly. Forks scraped the dinnerware. Their smiles seemed artificial. Their pride felt borrowed. I simply remained seated, slicing my meal into uniform pieces, pretending the cruel comments didn't affect me. They had no idea I was transferring $7,500 every month to ensure their picture-perfect residence remained safe. 3 years of holding my tongue, disguised as being responsible. That evening, beneath the large golden chandelier, I truly smiled for the first time. The statement that was about to leave my mouth would completely alter everything they assumed about me. The Hawthorne house consistently looked like it belonged in a high-end magazine. It featured white marble flooring, mirrors trimmed in gold, and costly candles that smelled like societal approval. Mom made sure this image was maintained. She arranged the Thanksgiving table every year as if it were a performance stage, folding the linen napkins like sculptures. The expensive plates were never allowed near the dishwasher. She was convinced that maintaining perfection could obscure reality. For many years, she was almost right. I grew up learning how to minimize myself inside that house. My sister, Olivia, was the featured daughter, the high achiever, the teacher, the one who always made Mom proud. I played the role of the quiet one, a blurred figure in the background of family pictures. "You're just not expressive enough, Brooke," Mom used to say while fixing Olivia's hair for photos. Dad would only nod, caught between his drinking and his guilt. Dinner that night proceeded exactly as usual. The air smelled of rosemary and deep pockets. Our brother-in-law, Aaron, boasted about his new expensive vehicle. Mom laughed too aggressively. Dad poured another glass of wine, keeping his eyes lowered. The entire meal was a script we had all performed for years. Praise the sister. Ignore me. When my sister stood up, glass raised, I knew a remark was coming. She always enjoyed the focus, and I braced myself for the typical jab she'd throw my way. This time, however, it felt different. It wasn't gentle teasing. It was malice veiled in charm. She repeated Mom and Dad's statement, "You never contribute anything to this family." She paused intentionally, seeking their validation. They immediately gave it. Sharp, hollow laughter echoed across the table. Even Dad's mouth curved upward before the guilt quickly overwhelmed him. I stared at the roast centerpiece, the candlelight shimmering off the gravy boat. It was beautiful, faultless, and completely staged. I forced out the smile they expected, the passive girl acting unwounded. But internally, something gave way. A tension I'd carried for years finally broke. They mistook my silence for giving up. It never crossed their minds that my quietness could be a tactical choice. As my sister soaked up the applause, I thought about every monthly transfer, every time I depleted my savings just to keep this property standing. 3 years of sacrifice, completely unappreciated. Maybe I started doing it for love, or perhaps just to keep the peace. But sitting there, engulfed by their laughter, I realized I was paying for only one thing, the fantasy that I still belonged. And that fantasy was about to end. After everyone departed that night, I sat alone in my car. I gripped the steering wheel tightly until my knuckles were white. The noise of their laughter, bright, empty, and endless, still rang in my ears. I looked back at the glowing house. I had sustained it like a demanding, ungrateful relative. I used to believe that keeping quiet was an act of love. Instead, silence was the chain they used to control me, and I had worn it with unwarranted dignity. 3 years earlier, the residence had looked much different. I vividly recall the evening Dad arrived at my small apartment, rain soaking his coat, shame filling his expression. He stood there looking frail, carrying a manila folder. "If your mother finds this out," he whispered, his voice cracking, "it will absolutely ruin her." He didn't ask for money first. He initially asked for discretion, for time, and for help. Then he pushed the stack of mortgage documents across my cramped kitchen table. The ink on the papers seemed heavy, like a serious confession. "We refinanced twice already," he confessed quietly. "If we miss another single payment, the bank takes the house." "How much is required?" I asked him. He hesitated for a moment. $7,500 every month. $8,000. That amount was almost everything I earned after mandatory expenses. I had just received a promotion to senior financial analyst. It was a good salary, but the hours were long. I struggled just to afford my own life. Yet, when I looked at him and saw the sheer desperation in his hands, I agreed. I convinced myself that daughters always fix the mistakes their fathers make. I initially treated it as temporary. A few months, maybe a year tops. But the months blurred into years, and what was supposed to be temporary became just another routine for the family. They proceeded to renovate the kitchen, host lavish parties, and brag about their apparent financial security. Mom even quipped one time, "When you plan wisely, life always rewards you, Brooke." I nearly chuckled out loud. Every transfer I initiated was executed without notice. I never missed a single payment. I canceled vacations, declined social invitations, and watched my savings evaporate in quiet obedience. Meanwhile, they maintained their narrative. I was the one who hadn't achieved enough, the outsider, the daughter who didn't quite fit into their flawless portrait. That evening, immediately after my sister's cruel toast, I opened my banking application. 36 separate transactions stared back at me, each one feeling like an emotional wound. I scrolled down them slowly, feeling the impact of every number. $7,500, then another $7,500, and another. Something deep inside me settled. I wasn't angry or sad anymore. I felt completely clear. They didn't owe me gratitude, but I no longer owed them my absolute silence. I gazed out the window where the streetlights pooled gold onto the wet pavement. My reflection looked back at me, composed and resolute. Tomorrow, I promised myself. Tomorrow, they would finally see contribution measured in digits and in limits. I closed the app, shut off my phone, and took a deep breath. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest was gone. I wasn't losing my family. I was finally reclaiming myself. The following morning, the city was still gray and mostly quiet when I settled at my kitchen counter. My coffee cup was cooling beside me. The monetary figures from the previous night remained heavy on my conscience. 3 years, 36 payments, totaling $270,000. I accessed my computer, logged into my bank account, and placed the cursor over the recurring automatic payment instruction. The button appeared harmless and blue, completely ordinary. I stared at it until my eyes started watering. Then I clicked cancel. A small confirmation sound registered. That tiny chime felt louder than every slight they had ever directed at me. For a second, the compulsion to feel guilty tried to resurface. This was the part of me that still wished to be the devoted daughter, the peacemaker, the fixer. But peace achieved through maintaining secrets is not true peace. It is merely a hidden contract sealed by silence. I had already paid its complete cost. I opened a separate document and began typing a list of every payment I had ever made. I recorded the date, the exact amount, and the reference number. This was irrefutable evidence meticulously arranged. Each entry strengthened my resolve. I wasn't attempting to eliminate the past, I was officially documenting it. This was not retribution. This was simply keeping the record straight. This was the truth. My phone vibrated with a text message from my sister. "Family dinner again tonight. Don't be late. Mom made your favorite." My favorite. She consistently used that phrase as a form of manipulation. I looked at the screen and almost laughed bitterly. Not this time. I changed into my professional gray blazer, the jacket that commanded attention at my workplace. At the office, I completed several reports, responded to emails, and offered polite smiles to colleagues walking past. No one suspected that beneath my composed demeanor, a profound shift was occurring. True freedom never shouts. It is a quiet vibration felt beneath your ribs, waiting for the perfect moment. That evening, I drove back to the house once more. The windows cast a warm glow outside, and the distinct aroma of garlic and wine drifted out into the driveway. I could already hear their familiar voices inside, light, upbeat, and insincere. As I paused at the front door, I took a single, long breath. I wasn't there to engage in conflict. I wasn't there to offer an explanation. I was there to bring everything to a complete stop. I stepped inside. Mom greeted me with her customary tight embrace that always felt more like an inspection. My sister, Olivia, offered a smile suggesting ownership of the room. Dad looked noticeably aged and exhausted. "Perfect timing, Brooke," Mom announced. "We were just talking about expressing gratitude." "So was I replied. Dinner started just like their usual staged performance. Too polite, too bright, and too polished. The table shimmered under the chandelier. Every dish gleamed, arranged for a photo shoot. Mom loved the feeling of control. Even her salads were meticulously planned. Erin poured wine like a sommelier on television while my sister recounted her latest triumph at work. I sat quietly, counting the seconds between their fake laughter. Dad barely looked up from his plate. His fork scraped the edge, a rhythmic sign of his guilt. He understood. Maybe not what I was about to do, but he knew enough. I saw it in the way he avoided my eyes. "Brooke," Mom said abruptly, smiling too wide. "You've been quiet again. Everything okay at work?" "Busy," I said, "but good." My sister chuckled. "Busy surviving, right?" Erin laughed with her. It was a practice duet. "She's fine. She loves her spreadsheets." I gave a thin smile. "They definitely keep me honest." Mom tusked softly, acting as if honesty were impolite. "You know, if you would just loosen up a little." "She can't," my sister interrupted, waving her fork. "Brooke doesn't know how to contribute unless it's silent." The atmosphere shifted slightly. Dad cleared his throat. "Olivia." She was leaning forward now, eyes bright with self-righteousness. She declared the line just like before. "Mom and Dad claimed, 'You never contribute anything to this family.' And honestly, they're not wrong." The room laughed again, a reflex, like trained applause. That's when I smiled, a small, precise smile that was not the girl they recognized. "Perfect," I said softly, setting down my fork. The laughter immediately wavered. Then I continued. "The $7,500 I've been paying toward your mortgage every month stops today." The whole room froze. Erin blinked. "What?" Dad let out a sharp, choking cough that cut the silence. Mom's wine glass tilted before she managed to set it down. My sister stared, her face blank. I retrieved my phone from my purse and slid it onto the table. "It's here," I said, tapping the screen. 36 transactions glowed beneath the chandelier. Every month, 3 years, $7,500 each. No one moved. Mom's lip quivered. "You?" Dad asked me. "Yes," I said evenly. "The business failed. The partner disappeared. You didn't want Mom to know." All eyes turned to him. His shoulders dropped. He did not deny it. "You said it would destroy her," I reminded him gently. "And I believed you." "Brooke, please," Mom whispered, her color gone. "Not like this." "Like what?" I asked. "Publicly, loudly, you preferred quiet, didn't you? That's what I've been paying for your silence." My sister stood up. "This is simply manipulation." "No," I said, standing too. "This is basic math." She opened her mouth, but I spoke first. "You mocked me for not contributing. Let's measure it. $270,000. How much did your applause cost you?" Erin's voice cracked. "You could have warned us." I laughed once, low and tired. "I did, every month through my bank." Dad finally spoke, his voice small. "We felt desperate. You thought I wouldn't notice what it cost me," I said. "You were correct until now." Mom's eyes welled up. "We're family, you can't just quit." "I already did," I said. "The automatic payment was canceled this morning." The following silence was heavy and shaking. The only sounds were the soft hum of the refrigerator and Dad's rapid, shallow breath. My sister crossed her arms. "You are deliberately punishing them." I met her eyes. "No, punishment ends, boundaries begin." Her jaw clenched. "You're acting selfishly." "I was selfless for 3 years," I replied. "Look what that achieved." Mom's hand trembled as she reached for my sleeve. "Please, we can fix this problem." I stepped back away from her. "Fix it with your own money." Her hand dropped. Dad looked at me, finally seeing his reflection. "Brooke," he whispered, "I didn't think it would escalate this far." "It already did," I said. You just refuse to look down. For a long time, no one spoke. The golden room, once so perfect, looked distorted by the truth. Then I spoke my final words. If contribution means pretense, you win. If it means sacrifice, I already did my part. I picked up my phone, put it in my bag, and took my coat from the chair. Brooke, wait, Mom said weakly. Don't go. I paused in the doorway, light surrounding me. Start contributing, I said quietly, to the truth. And then I left the house. Outside, the cold air hit me like a baptism. The sky was a merciful, blank gray. My phone immediately started buzzing in my pocket. Dad, then Mom, then my sister. I let the calls ring out. For years, I had been paying for their silence. Tonight, I finally earned mine. The calls kept coming that night. Missed calls, voicemails, and texts stacked up like apologies. I wasn't ready to open them. I let them echo in the dark while I sat on my couch. I was wrapped in a quiet that was finally peaceful. It was strange how peace sounded so much like absence. Days and weeks went by. I never sent another dollar. Eventually, the text messages changed from angry to pleading to simple acceptance. The Hawthorne house was put up for sale in the spring. I drove past it once just to see the for sale sign slightly tilted in the wind. The windows were dark. No candles, no staging, no applause. Mom emailed me months later. We're moving into a condo. It's smaller, but it feels lighter, she wrote. Below it was one line that almost broke my composure. I'm sorry we didn't truly see you. My sister called as well. Her voice was soft, unsure. She said they had started family therapy. She admitted she finally understood what genuine contribution meant. I didn't rush to forgive her, but I listened to her. Sometimes that is enough to begin rebuilding. Dad sent a photo of the new place. No marble floors, no chandelier, just sunlight coming through a kitchen window. He held a coffee mug. He looked real. I never moved back into their old story. I stayed focused on mine. I purchased a small apartment with large windows. The morning light enters without asking permission. Some nights I still hear that dinner table laughter, sharp and hollow, but it fades quickly. When I think about contribution now, I think about clear boundaries, not about sacrifice. And when I think about family, I think about truth, not applause. Sometimes, real peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from finally drawing the line that no one else dared to. I didn't need their applause to know my value. I only needed to stop paying for my own silence. Now, every morning, sunlight hits my coffee cup, and I remember contribution isn't measured in sacrifice. It is measured in honesty. If you have ever been told you aren't enough, let this story remind you. Your boundaries are your freedom. Drop a comment. Tell me your story and hit like, share, and subscribe for more true stories about personal strength, family, and the power of quiet revenge.